Good morning, guys. Let me make sure that the audio is working as usual. Hope everybody's doing good. This is the usual weekly live stream on Friday. Okay, sounds like the microphone is working. Yeah, this is the usual weekly live stream. I was actually going to run this weekly live stream from the Particle Network account, and moving forward, we will. So from now on, starting I guess next week at this point, these weekly live streams will not be hosted from my account. They will be hosted from the Particle Network account, and they will be a little bit more formalized. So I'll spend a little bit more time talking about the plans with Particle. I'll still do this today. But starting with the live streams that will run from Particle every week at the same time, around 10 a.m. Mountain Time on Friday, those live streams will be a little bit more structured and professional, and less of me just rambling and more of actually like sectioned parts of the live stream, and we're gonna have some people on for that and that kind of thing. I was actually gonna run this one from the Particle Network account, but the live stream wasn't working for me, so I am running it from my personal account as usual. But anyways, if you guys are not familiar with these live streams, these are streams that I run every week at Friday, where I basically just kind of walk through all the major updates from the side of Universal X, all of the features that we're adding, all the campaigns that we're getting ready to do, as well as everything that's happening with Particle Network, and also some broader things with the market, as you can tell from the title of this live stream, which is that Israel is nuking my bags, which is happening, I think. I think it's a little bit better, but I placed, I think it was 40x short on Bitcoin and 25x short on ETH on Hyperliquid last night whenever I saw the news. And I actually made pretty good profit from that. So I had a little bit of recovery from just shorting the whole market whenever the news came out. But anyways, it has not been a pleasant 15, 16 hours here. But anyways, we have quite a bit to talk about today. Next week and the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be huge weeks for Universal X and for Particle Network. I can't say everything that's going to happen, but I can give you guys a little bit of alpha as to what exactly we are going to do. So let me just go ahead and start sharing this here. So, of course, I think last week I went through kind of all the recent updates with you guys, particularly as it relates to, the blind signing instant trade feature. So, very fast transactions with priority fees. Now you can set, like 2x speed on your transactions or 4x speed or whatever you want. And this will ultimately speed up the transactions you do on Universal X and make them very quick and reliable. So this is something that we added, I believe, last week, and I think I already covered this, but transactions, and this is already live, but if you create an account on Universal X using a private key, transactions are very fast. And they're also pretty cheap. So it's cheaper than most other platforms, and it's faster than most other platforms. So pretty good. And then, of course, starting next week, hopefully, we'll be able to actually bring this like fast transaction blind signing functionality to people who sign in to Universal X through social logins. So that is the plan at the moment. But anyways, that's already live. And of course, I think I showed you guys this last week as well. We have the new P&L cards that are also live. So you guys can share your P&L in any position, whether it's an open position or a closed position. You just click on the little share icon up here and the P&L card will appear. So that is also live. Of course, these are just a few of the updates that that we wanted to release beforehand to prepare for what we would call Universal X V3. Universal X V3 is going to be the biggest update to Universal X that we've had since Universal X V2. Universal X V2, if those of you guys were around here for that was, I think at this point, around 4 months ago. Universal X V2 basically revamped the entire platform. Universal X V3 won't be a UI revamp, but it's going to be some huge campaigns that will change the whole feel of Universal X. This will hopefully happen within the next 2 weeks-ish. I can't give an exact timeline, but that's kind of the current expectation. So Universal X V3 will bring a lot to the platform. I'll talk a little bit more and give you guys a little bit of alpha on what exactly that'll be in a second. But for now, if you guys didn't see it last week, you can actually go and already use it. Very fast transactions, very cheap transactions, priority fees, all these kind of things are now live on Universal X, such that trading is about triple as fast as it was on the platform than it was prior. New P&L cards, you also now have, of course, the drag and drop TPSL. So I can actually drag where I want my take profit to happen and where I want my stop loss to happen, kind of like the Hyperliquid feel. So that is also now live. So yeah, we're shipping hard. Like we are very heads down on trying to make everything more well-rounded, all the small details, all these kind of things. Another big thing from this week, if you guys didn't see it, was that we added support for Hyper EVM. So you can actually now trade any token on Hyper EVM using your unified balance. So I can go and find, let's see, we can just go to Per. It's kind of one of the bigger altcoins on Hyper EVM. So this is Per. This is on Hyper EVM natively. I can go ahead and buy, let's say, $5 worth. This transaction will take a little bit longer because it has to bridge it from Solana, but there you go, still very quick. And now I have just bought a token on Hyper EVM. So we now support this chain in full. It's fast to transact on, it's cheap. And so this is a good option. There's been a lot of really good tokens that have launched on Hyper EVM over the past few weeks, a lot of huge runners. And so we wanted to integrate as fast as we could. So we had a lot of requests on Twitter and on Telegram of people saying, please add Hyper EVM, please add Hyper EVM. So we added that this week. So that went live on Monday. So yeah, very fast transactions. Basically the same features that we have on every chain. I don't believe we support limit orders just yet for Hyper EVM. At least maybe we added it. I don't think we did though. Yeah, okay. So we don't have limit orders for Hyper EVM yet. We will though eventually, but for now it's just going to be market, just purely spot. So, but it's all live, so you guys can go ahead and try it if you want. Use your Solana balance, use your EVM balance, whatever you want. Use your stable coins to trade token in Hyper EVM. Then you can go ahead and sell that, take that back over to a token on Solana, and start trading a token on Solana immediately with that same balance. So this is kind of the magic of Universal X. But anyways, all this stuff is live right now on the platform. You can go and try it at universalx.app or on the mobile app. The mobile app, I think, is still a little bit behind on some things, but for the most part, I think it should be pretty up to date relative to the desktop version. But anyways, this is all usable right now in the platform. Given that, and kind of that, these most recent updates, I also want to talk about what is going to happen with Universal X and what you can expect over the next few weeks. So as I mentioned, we've been pushing a lot of small updates and quality of life improvements and these kind of things, Universal X, over the past, 3 months at this point, 4 months. But we're ready for kind of like the next major big version that we want to launch with. Especially over the past 2-3 weeks, we've been doing a lot of small but big improvements. So things like I just mentioned, the transaction speed and the chart speed and the limit order update and the, drag and drop your TPSL and the P&L cards and all these things that, these are individually small details, but they make Universal X much more competitive than what it was prior. The next major update, which, as I mentioned, we're branding Universal X v3, will really include a few major things. I can't say everything that it will include, but the main important part about Universal X v3, beyond the kind of the performance improvements and these kind of things, is that Universal X v3 is really going to be the rewards update. So, a lot of our updates have been kind of like feature focused or adding some new, like I said, limit orders or whatever. But Universal X v3, really the most important changes or the biggest changes that you're going to see are going to be our reward system. So we're going to have roughly 3 different reward systems that we're going to implement. I can tell you about one of them. The other ones I can't say too much about. But for one, you're going to be able to get rewards denominated in party on every transaction that you do. So every trade that you make on Universal X, you'll actually get some party for. So if I, do a trade for, let's say, I don't know, $10,000 on Universal X, then I'll get, something like 100 party, or I don't know, that's just a rough idea, but I'll get some party for every trade that I do on Universal X as sort of like a cash back or cash trading reward. So that will be live with Universal X v3. We will also have another big campaign continuing from our prior airdrop with party. We won't be doing an airdrop, but we will be starting the next kind of series of party diamonds. I think I mentioned this last week, but this will be happening pretty soon. And we've talked about this on our Twitter account as well. So that will also go live alongside V3. That will be a slightly different mechanism, a different feel than season 0, but I believe it'll be more responsive. It will feel more rewarding, and you'll be able to have a better idea of how much you're actually earning in terms of party diamonds. Plus, of course, the actual party cash rewards that you'll get for trading. We'll have a few other small things, but these are kind of going to be the biggest things that we will launch in terms of like our reward systems. I think overall, with these two things plus a few of the other small things that we're going to add, Universal X will be with V3. I think objectively the most rewarding trading platform on the market in terms of the amount of cash that you get for trading, in terms of the referral rewards that you get, in terms of the potential airdrop that you could get for using it. And all these things will make Universal X by far the most rewarding. There's a lot of trading terminals on the market, especially when you look at the ones that are doing an airdrop. A lot of them are some that may never TGE or may not TGE anytime soon. The good thing about Universal X and Particle is that we have already TGE'd. Party is a Binance listed token, and so there's a good opportunity there to basically earn a guaranteed token that's already listed on the reputable exchanges. And of course, both earning that through the kind of trading rewards mechanism as well as through the Party Diamonds mechanism that we will announce and that we will launch. We're also going to add things like potentially over the next few weeks, we'll add party staking. And so there's a lot of small things that are going to go into V3 that will make it feel very rewarding and ultimately give a lot of utility not only to party, but also make just using Universal X very profitable, not only purely from the standpoint of actually trading and making profit from those trades, but also the fact that we are literally going to pay you to trade Universal X, or sorry, to trade on Universal X and to actually use a platform. And so some other trading platforms do this. EcxqyN does this with their cashback mechanism, which I thought was a very smart feature that they implemented. We're doing something similar. We're not going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do something fundamentally similar in terms of actually rewarding you for trading and using the platform. So the most important thing about Universal X V3 is going to be that it will be our biggest update in terms of rewards, in terms of adding major incentives and really paying you to some degree, rewarding you for using Universal X. So this is what is going to happen with that update. There's going to be some other things, of course, more performance improvements, more chart improvements, some UI improvements as well, some of these kind of things. But those will be the biggest impacts that you'll see to Universal X V3. The biggest performance improvements are already live. You can actually try it, as I just mentioned, as it just kind of displayed on the, with the instant transactions or, the priority fees, all these kind of things, and the TPSL, drag and drop, all that kind of stuff. So that's already live. So those major improvements are live. We will have a few other kind of smaller iterations as we get ready for V3. But those kind of core rewards additions will be the biggest things that you can expect. As I said, there's a few things that I can't mention that will be included in that will also be along the line of rewards. But I think in total, you should be pretty satisfied with Universal X V3. Biggest update that we've ever launched since Universal X V2. And so I'm very excited for this. This will hopefully launch here in the next few weeks. We're planning a pretty big push for it. So if you're already using Universal X, you can continue using it in preparation for the big update. And of course, once a big update comes, I think you will enjoy the overall feel and kind of rewarding nature of Universal X whenever that does happen. With that said, let's move into things around Particle Network. I actually forgot to put this banner on, but let me just indicate. Let's talk about some Particle updates. So that is the updates for Universal X. We added Hyper EVM this week. All of the recent quality of life improvements, such as new PNL cards, speed, all these kind of things, are now live on the app and on the website. We have Universal X V3 coming very soon that we are basically fully locked in on preparing for and making as effective as possible for you guys. Additionally, from the Particle Network side, the first thing that you can understand that you can note is that we're going to be doing a lot more content from the Particle Network brand officially. Since really the past 3 months, 4 months, we've been very focused as a team on Universal X. We're a pretty small team. Our growth team is like less than 9 people at this point. So we've been allocating a lot of our resources towards, trying to make Universal X as good of an app and grow it as fast as possible as we can, given our resources. We will continue doing that, but also we want to give some more attention to the Particle Network brand and that Twitter account. As I mentioned, this live stream was actually supposed to go live through the Particle Network account, but it didn't because I had some technical issues. But starting next week, we will be doing all future weekly live streams from the Particle Network account. We'll have some guests on. We'll have some of the Particle team on as well. And we will kind of have a more structured conversation around what's happening with Particle, what's happening with chain abstraction, what's happening with the industry. And that will be consistent every Friday from the Particle Network account. So you can expect that to be kind of one of the first changes that you'll see in terms of content frequency from that account. We also have a big report on chain abstraction, as well as another big report on kind of the state of fragmentation in the industry. Both of those will go live over the next few weeks from Particle Network as well. So we're trying to get more into this sort of like hopefully weekly or bi-weekly large content pieces that we're going to push from Particle Network around the industry, around universal accounts, the things that we're doing, all that kind of stuff. If you guys saw, I believe it was 2 weeks ago at this point, we launched the State of Particle Network Q1 report with Masari, which went through some of the numbers around the growth of Universal X and the growth of universal accounts, which was actually pretty promising. And so we want to continue some of that momentum and just post even more from our side through that particle account. So we have, like I said, 2 major reports coming pretty soon that we will produce. We're currently getting ready for one that we should hopefully be able to post next week. And then we will have another one here in the next 2 to 3 weeks ish. I will also be starting a new podcast series that will be posted from this account, but it will also be boosted and promoted by the Particle account. That podcast series is called Exit Liquidity. Exit Liquidity is a podcast that you should be able to see the first episode of by next week. This is a podcast where I'm going to be interviewing basically the top OG proven traders in the space, traders that have actually made a lot of money and that they're not grifters or KOLs, but they've been in the space for multiple years. They've kind of gone through the rounds, and they are genuine on-chain traders, and that's kind of what they do full time. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of these guys and talking to them about what worked for them, kind of what they believe the current meta is like, if they think you can even profit in the current meta as a trader, their biggest points of advice for other traders. And I recorded the first episode last week with, I won't say who, but it was pretty well known, one of the earliest kind of Ethereum OGs in terms of meme coin trading, and now, of course, doing Solana trading. And so I had him on for the podcast last week, and I will release that podcast hopefully next week. But he gave some really good advice that actually I hadn't really thought about in terms of how you can stay profitable. And I've actually been applying some of his advice, and it has been helping me a lot in terms of actually making money on chain and not losing it all. So he gave some very actionable sort of like thoughts and his what he's learned over the past few years and what's worked and what hasn't. And so that series X Liquidity will start next week, and so you can expect that as well. So in terms of content, weekly live streams starting from the Particle Network account next week. We're going to be doing some big reports, articles, more kind of like one-off tweets, all these kind of things, short articles on Twitter, long articles through our blog, all that kind of stuff, starting through the Particle Network account as early as next week. Additionally, we will have the podcast series that will start called Exit Liquidity, also launching soon from my account, probably as early as next week. That will also be boosted and promoted by the Particle Network account as well. So lots of content happening from all sides, from Universal X with V3 happening next week, or in the next kind of 2-3 weeks potentially. You're going to have the big kind of content push happening from Particle Network, the new podcast series starting from my account, these weekly live streams going live from Particle Network starting every Friday, beginning next week as well. And so we're locked in. We are very dedicated towards not only growing Universal X, but also making sure that Particle Network is as active as possible, especially in kind of the broader conversation around interoperability and around chain abstraction. So this is kind of our current plans and what we are going to be doing for Particle Network as well. On the actual universal account side, the biggest updates from recently is that this week we, of course, added Hyper EVM to the universal account SDKs. So if you are a developer building on Hyper EVM, then we now support that chain for universal accounts. We're talking actually already to a lot of big Hyper EVM projects. I think we're talking to like the top 3 or 4 apps on Hyper EVM right now and walking through integrations with a number of them. And so we should be able to announce potentially even a dedicated cohort of Hyper EVM apps that will use universal accounts here over the next few weeks that I'm very excited for. And so that will also happen hopefully pretty soon, but we're currently in those discussions and already getting a lot of interest from those Hyper EVM ecosystem apps. We have a number of other kind of like tier 1 apps that are currently walking through integrations of Universal X, of universal accounts, but also kind of simultaneously Universal X. And so we will announce our next sort of like cohort or set of applications that will support universal accounts, hopefully pretty soon in the next month or 2. So we have big kind of plans. We're doing continued a big push in terms of actually getting as many integrations, especially with these tier 1 apps as we can for universal accounts. We also have a big event happening in New York in, I think, around 2 weeks. We haven't announced it just yet, but we will be able to announce it, I think, in the next few days. This is going to be a huge event that we're going to be running as Universal X, but this will happen during the week of permissionless. It's going to be hopefully the biggest kind of like party event in New York that week. We're running it with, I don't know if I could say who, but it's a very well-known brand in the space. And so I'm very excited for that. So if you're going to be in New York during permissionless, then hit me up. I can get you an invite. And it's going to be a huge event that we're going to have at that point to sort of like to some degree celebrate the launch of Universal X V3. So those are kind of like the major updates. I try to keep it as short as possible, keep everything concise for you guys. We now have, big performance boosts, big feature improvements, P&L card, new revamped P&L cards for Universal X, all these kind of things now live on both the web version and the app that you can use right now. We have Hyper EVM that's now live. Over the next 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to be launching Universal X V3, which will include major reward systems that we hadn't had before. That will make Universal X hands down the most rewarding trading platform on the market. We're going to be doing a big content push from Particle Network around chain abstraction, around universal accounts, just talking about what needs to happen within the industry over the next year, really. And so we have multiple pieces that are getting ready to go live from Particle Network soon, as well as these weekly live streams that will start from Particle Network beginning next week. We have a new podcast series that we're starting called X Liquidity that will launch from my account next week. We have Hyper EVM on the Universal Account SDK. They have a lot of Hyper EVM products that we're currently getting ready to integrate with, as well as other tier 1 projects that are currently backlogged for integration as well. On top of all this, we have a big event coming in New York pretty soon, and even more happening, starting in July. So hopefully I got through that without talking too fast, but this is going to be the biggest things that we are preparing from both Universal X as well as Particle Network over the next, really 3-4 weeks. And so a lot of things on the horizon. We've been preparing for a lot over the past month. And so hopefully a lot of that preparation will start to come to fruition in terms of Universal X V3, in terms of the content and everything else that we are preparing. And so I'm optimistic. And I think that I hope you guys will like all the things that we've been preparing, especially around V3 and the reward systems there. That being said, that's about it. This was the 20th weekly live stream or something like that. You can, from this point on, find these at the Particle Network account. I will no longer be hosting these from the Tabasco account. And so starting next week, I catch these every Friday at around 10 a.m. Mountain Time at the Particle Network account. These will move from being around 30 minutes to being more like 45 minutes, and I'll be having some guests on starting next week as well. That is about it, guys. Go try the new kind of performance update, the new feature update at universalx.app. Go try it on the App Store or the Play Store if you have an Android phone. Get ready for Universal X V3 coming very soon. Keep an eye on the Particle Network account for some big content that we're pushing and a few more announcements around Party. And we have a lot of things happening very soon. That's about it, guys. Thank you, and I will see you same time next week at the Particle Network account.